All right. We're going to give it just a couple minutes for people to jump on as they'd like. So if you are tuning in, just sit tight for a minute for me, and then we will get started. All right, we are going to give people a couple minutes to jump on here. So please forgive me for being a few minutes behind. I actually finished seeing patients right at 5:30. So sometimes if I go over a little bit, it's hard to get on in time. Give me just a sec here. Okay. All right, guys, we are going to dive right in. I'm going to try to keep an eye on things. So if people are tuning in late, I can try to let you in. All right, there's a little glare with that light. Sorry, I haven't done my setup here. But we are just going to make the most of this. So, okay, again, thank you for your patience. Sorry that we're a little behind. Oh, what is going on with that light? Okay, but that light doesn't matter. What matters is what we are going to talk about tonight. So my name is Dr. Katie McCalley. I am a chiropractor at High Altitude Chiropractic. That's in Colorado Springs. Just moved to Colorado Springs from Pagosa Springs. So I've been practicing this is my 8th year, and I just opened a new practice in Colorado Springs. The reason that I am tuning on today is because I have gotten really frustrated with the information that's available to people out there. And I think we can do better in terms of health. And I think that people are genuinely trying to do better, and there just isn't a lot of information available to them. So if I can help just a little bit, that is what I want to do. Today, we are going to talk about ear infections. Why do I want to talk about ear infections? Because they affect a lot of people. So I am going to talk primarily in terms of kids who get ear infections. However, these things still apply to anybody who gets ear infections, adults or, excuse me, teenagers, anybody who might be getting ear infections. Give me a sec. I'm going to silence everything so my phone doesn't start ringing. All right, let's dive in. Truly with ear infections, a lot of times people just don't know what to do, and they aren't given good options by people who are supposed to be supporting them and giving them good options. So that's why we're here. That's why I want to talk to you. There are a lot of misconceptions about the best way to handle ear infections, and we are going to get into that, and you might already be guessing as to what some of those misconceptions are. So let's dive in. Again, these webinars are designed to just get information out there. So please share this information with people you know who might benefit from it, or people you don't know who still might benefit from it. I'm just trying to get information out so that people have better options moving forward. So here we go. We are probably going to go a little bit past 6 Mountain Time. If you need to jump off, no problem. I will post the recording here. So And if you're watching this after the fact, as always, comment on the videos, reach out to me directly, comment in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye on that stuff so that I can get your questions answered as we go. So, all right, first let's talk about how we get ear infection. So do you guys remember, if you saw our cold and flu season webinar, we talked about something called the germ theory. The germ theory says that we get sick because of little germs, little, I wrote down the exact definition so I didn't mess it up. Microscopic organisms, they cause disease. Now, if you remember, the germ theory in reality doesn't hold up, despite what, some people out there are trying to tell you. It's bogus and it doesn't make sense. And remember, it doesn't make sense because what really matters is what's going on inside of you and me, not a germ that might be sitting on the table next to me, right? And the reason we know this is bogus is because we have seen two people who live in the same house, they live in the exact same environments, they eat the same food, they do the same things all day, every day, and one of them gets sick and the other one doesn't. Why? It's because it's about what's going on inside of you, right? Ear infections are no exception to this rule. So the reason we get ear infections is because we don't drain properly. And then gunk builds up in our ears primarily, but really, I mean, it's in our face, it's in our sinuses, it's in those areas as well. When anything is still standing, like water that's still standing or gunk that's still standing in our ears or in our head, it doesn't, if it's not moving, if it's not circulating, if it's not draining properly, then it becomes problematic. It gets gross and yucky and causes issues. That's what happens with ear infections. So when our lymphatic system doesn't pump that gunk out properly, then we get buildup, then we get ear infections, and then we have problems as a result. So one thing that is a huge reason children especially, but all of us really get ear infections, believe it or not, is diet. So children who are eating inflammatory foods such as dairy is a really, really big one with ear infections. Believe it or not, dairy is. Dairy, gluten, sugar is really the problem in the world. Sugar is a really big, it's a drug. It's a really big problem for our kids, for ourselves, everything. But and processed foods, all of these things, they contribute to more frequent, more intense ear infections. So what do we do if we do get an ear infection? Okay, if your child gets an ear infection and you take your child to the medical doctor, they are going to say, here, let's give your precious little baby, or your baby might be 16 years old. It doesn't matter. It's still your baby. Let's give your precious little baby antibiotics. Okay, so the problem with medical doctors giving your child antibiotics is they don't tell you the very harsh, severe, and intense ramifications of taking antibiotics, especially our children who have developing nervous systems. They're growing and developing every day. I mean, you know that by how much they eat and the fact that they wear pants that look like they're expecting a flood. That is what kids are going through. They are growing, they are developing, and then we're going to throw antibiotics in there. And the problem is, okay, we're going to side note. We're going to side note here, and I'm going to talk about antibiotics because I think you need to know, and people just don't know. So, antibiotics are problematic because they don't kill the infection. They kill everything. They kill everything. So all of that good, healthy gut bacteria that helps us digest our food and have good, properly working bowels and all of that, that's super important for health and well-being because that's how we excrete toxins. That gut bacteria gets killed too. So we spend our whole lives growing that gut bacteria and perfecting it and making sure it works and making sure we're supporting it with the proper nutrients and all of that. We spend our whole lives growing that. And the doctors say they hand out antibiotics like candy. Here, just take some antibiotics. They don't even know if it's a bacterial infection. If you don't know this, antibiotics are designed to kill bacteria. So if ever someone is dumb enough, and I don't feel bad saying that, if ever someone is dumb enough to give you or someone you love antibiotics for the flu is a virus. You don't kill a virus with antibiotics, you kill a bacteria with antibiotics. So, I digress. Just kidding. I don't. We're still going to talk about antibiotics. What's really happening is they kill everything, and then you have to regrow all that gut bacteria. So let's say you take a round of antibiotics. Well, have you ever heard of leaky gut? Have you ever heard of irritable bowel syndrome? Where do you think those came from? Well, you probably taken 7 rounds of antibiotics since you've been alive, maybe longer, maybe more, who knows? And that's for young kids or adults or whomever. That's what they do. They give you antibiotics and it kills all your gut bacteria. What they don't tell you is what to do about it. So here's the thing. Antibiotics should be avoided if at all possible. That's the reality of the situation. They should be. They are not good for you, and they create a lot of long-term issues like this gut dysfunction that we're talking about. The problem is a lot of people don't know the dangerous side effects of antibiotics because the medical doctors don't tell them. Here, take these antibiotics. They're safe. They're healthy. They're good for you. They're going to make you well. They're going to make you healthy. Did that make any sense to you? Take these antibiotics so you can be healthy. That just doesn't sound right. And it's not right. So FYI, if you do have an infection of some sort, believe it or not, our bodies are amazing. And if we support them properly, our bodies heal naturally. You do not have to take antibiotics because you have an infection. In case no one ever told you that, I'm going to tell you that. You don't have to take antibiotics because you have an infection. You might have an infection and you can support your body naturally to do what it does and get over that infection on your own. Now, if you absolutely have to take antibiotics, then I get it. If it's something that dramatic, then do it. But if you're going to take antibiotics, you better immediately get on a probiotic and take that probiotic, not that one, take a probiotic for at least a year, Remember how we said antibiotics, they kill everything, not just the infection that we're going for? Like an ear infection, they kill everything. You have to regrow a lifetime's worth of gut bacteria, and prebiotics and probiotics can help you do that. If you want some more direction on probiotics, reach out to me directly. You don't want to stick with the same single probiotic for an entire year. You're going to want to mix up you want to get good quality probiotics, but you want to mix it up so that you're not just, your body gets used to, it might say, these are the bacteria that this probiotic has, and your body says, hey, I'm good on those, but I need this other batch of bacteria now for the gut lining. We have to mix up our probiotics in order to do that. So if you want some more support with probiotics, let me know and I'm happy to help. Okay, so that's my spiel on antibiotics, but it's important because if you've never heard that, you should know it. All right, so why might your child continue to get ear infections? Well, for one, the gunk, as we call it, has found a safe, happy, cozy home in your child's ear and it knows it and it stays there. So this probably means that your child is not eating the way they should be. And that's a harsh reality, but it's true. You might need to take a look and see what you're feeding your child. So again, we want to avoid things that are inflammatory. Once we get the internal system of our children or our child who is experiencing ear infections, once we get that internal system to a place where it's healthy, it's not going to harbor these ear infections anymore. So we have to get the internal environment right, which is the whole reason why the germ theory doesn't make sense. We have to take care of the internal system so that no germs or microorganisms can thrive in our system. All right, so if your child is getting repeated ear infections, you go to your medical doctor for support, they are going to eventually suggest that your child get tubes put in their ear. How many of us have heard of that? We'll just put tubes in the ear, keep it open, it'll be great. Okay, well, let's talk about what that actually means because they don't ever seem to do that. So, getting tubes in your child's ear, that's a major surgery. They'll tell you it's a minor procedure. It is not. No procedure where your young child has to go under anesthesia and gets cut open is a minor procedure. It is a major procedure with anesthesia, with risks, and with potential complications. What they do when they do the tube surgery is they put your child under, they cut a hole in the eardrum. So if you ever heard of a ruptured eardrum where your eardrum like explodes, it's a really big deal and it's super problematic. It's the same thing. We're cutting a hole in the eardrum. They do this to insert the tubes. This is not a small thing. Your body has to heal from that. They say your body just heals and recovers. And it does because our bodies are amazing, but that is a big deal. That's a big deal. And they pretend like it's not a big deal, but it is. And you in your mom or dad gut know that it is a big deal and that it shouldn't be taken so lightly. So they cut a hole in the eardrum and then they put the tubes in there. So then, this is the best part. After they do all that, then they give you antibiotic eardrops to put in there too. Remember all the fun we just talked about with antibiotics? Yeah, that's not because you have an infection. It's because you might potentially get an infection. So we might as well just kill all of your gut bacteria before you even have an infection. I could go on and on. Anyways, so this is disastrous, all of this. Despite them telling you that this is normal, it is not normal. That is a disaster. All of that is disastrous. So, the really bad part about that whole thing is that the tubes, unfortunately, they don't even help most of the time because here's why. This is a premise with a lot of medical issues. The problem is we didn't fix the reason that the ear infections were actually happening. We just covered it up. We just put a Band-Aid on it and said, let's pretend like all this is good. We're going to put some tubes in there. We're going to let things drain. We're not going to fix the reason, fix the issue, the root cause as to why these ear infections are happening and continue to happen. But we'll cut a hole and put a tube and then it'll all be good. So that is crazy, but it's also it's not effective. We didn't fix anything. So, and most of the time, kids continue to still have ear infections because of that. So, all right. So what can you do? Okay, I want you guys to know if your child experiences ear infections, has an ear infection right now, or experiences ear infections often, and you go to your medical doctor, that is what you're going to get. And I want you to be prepared for that because there's not other tools in their tool bag. But I am going to give you tools right now. So what can you do instead? First and foremost, like I said, you need to look at your child's diet. You need to get rid of sugar or drastically minimize sugar and dairy. We all love a good pile of cheese. I get it. It tastes good, but dairy is very inflammatory. And if your child is suffering from ear infections, that should be the first thing that you cut out in addition to sugar. Sugar, you should always just cut out. Just like, let's start not giving our kids sugar and everything that we possibly could feed them and watch how their attention span changes, watch how their behavior changes, watch how their agitation changes. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. That should be its own webinar. Okay, what else can you do? They are likely eating dairy, sugar, and processed foods, and you need to create an internal environment that's not going to nurture that infection like we talked about before. So that's carbs, yeast, gluten, dairy, sugar, all of those things are like that's like fuel for bacteria to continue growing. So clean up your child's diet, clean up your own and the rest of your families while you're at it. That's always good advice to take. So what I would recommend is you start looking at organic, really good quality meats, vegetables, plenty of vegetables, some fruit. Fruit is healthy and good, but it's high in sugar, natural sugars, of course, but you should just be mindful because your body still metabolizes that as sugar. So minimize the fruits, but you can still have some. And then healthy fats. So that's like nuts, avocados, healthy oils. Those things are all good for your diet. So this is going to set up your child for success so that they stop getting these continual ear infections. In addition to addressing diet, you have got to get your child adjusted. Take your child to your chiropractor and have them start getting adjusted regularly. For one, it's going to help your nervous system. It's going to clear your nervous system, your child's nervous system. So brain and body will communicate more effectively. That your child's body processes will happen cleaner, smoother, more efficient, more effective, faster, all of those things because their brain body connection has been restored. No interference, nothing in the way. It's going to make a huge difference. It's also going to support your child's immune system. If you don't know this, children respond to chiropractic care beautifully. It takes so much less than it would take for you or me. They are new to the earth. They are receptive. Their bodies are incredible if we just give them a little bit of support. Okay. In addition to regular chiropractic adjustments, you have got to get your child's ears adjusted. This is a real thing. I do ear adjustments every day. On every single kiddo that I see, I adjust their ears, whether they have complaints or not, because it keeps them open and helps them drain naturally. I do ear adjustments on a lot of adults too. And it does the same thing that they say tubes does. It balances the pressure on the inside and the outside of the eardrum, but it does it naturally and it does it much more effectively. And it does it right now. When I do an ear adjustment, my adults who can communicate this, I'll do an ear adjustment and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I feel it. I feel it draining. Your draining is happening again. Your lymphatic system, you have lymph nodes all through here, all down here, all up here. Your lymphatic system is kickstarted. It says, time to work. Let's go. And your lymphatic system jumps into gear again and starts working for you to drain and detox, release the toxins that build up in your body. Your lymphatic system is another way that we eliminate toxins in our body. So it's very, very important. Okay, so it is important to have your ears or your child's ears as part of your chiropractic adjustment. If you're, as a chiro, I do cranial work too. So when all of this gets backed up and blocked, the bones of the face, the head, and the cranium, they are supposed to move subtly with inhalation and exhalation. They get jammed, they lock down like this. So we're not draining and everything's like clenched like this. Nothing is circulating properly. So I will look at the cranial bones, the cranial sutures. I'll look at the sinuses and make sure all of those are draining properly. That is very important. Okay. So if you are in Colorado Springs, come see me. I can help you with this. I can support you with this. I can give you information on this. If you are not in Colorado Springs, then talk to your chiropractor about this. And if they need support with ears, cranial adjusting, any of that, have them reach out to me. I teach extremity adjusting and some cranial adjusting as well. And I do teach my ear adjustment too. I'm happy to support them and help them do this. That's the point of this. I want more people to be able to do this. So have them reach out to me if they need a little bit of support with that. Okay. Let's see. If this is not already clear, let's take a moment to recognize how important it is to take care of ourselves and our children from the beginning. So let's say you have a 7-year-old child that continues to get ear infections. Well, what if when you had a 6-month-old child, you took that child to the chiropractor and got him or her adjusted regularly, and we never experienced the whole devastation of continued ear infections. That's what prevention does. That is how it works. It connects your brain and body so that your systems function optimally. And we take that stuff for granted, but we shouldn't, because what's it going to take? Do I have to, it's like when you get sick, you have to like be sick in order to appreciate not being sick, right? So when you get regular chiropractic adjustments, it helps your nervous system, your immune system, and it helps prevent issues like heart disease, heart attacks, lung disease. It helps prevent issues like ear infections. These issues can be prevented. It helps prevent infertility. It helps prevent these things that show up over time. Why do we need to wait for them to show up before we do something about them? We can fix these things before they're ever problems. So that is the importance of taking care of ourselves, eating properly, putting the right nutrients in our body, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, getting all the things that we know we're supposed to do, but we get lazy and don't do, and getting adjusted regularly and getting our children adjusted regularly. Growing healthy kids is a lot easier than fixing broken adults. I will tell you firsthand, I do it every day. It's so powerful to be able to give our children that gift of not having to go through continued ear infections in this case. So if we haven't already, please recognize the importance of taking care of ourselves. That's why we do weekly wellness webinars. Today we have covered how and why we get ear infections, what to look for and avoid from the medical community. At least you know what you're up against. At least you know what's going to be happening. And you know and understand why that's not the right approach. That's not the right route to go. And you don't want to do that anymore. You don't want to just cover it up. You don't want to take a pill. You don't want to put a Band-Aid on it. You don't want to get tubes put in to pretend like that's the problem when we still eat sugar and dairy for every single meal and have no drainage and no lymphatic system function. So what are the right things to do when we do get ear infections, or if we're having continual ear infections, or if our children are, and why it's important to take care of ourselves and our bodies to avoid ear infections and any other plethora of things that we might face. So I feel like I was a little bit spicy tonight. Sorry if that's not your thing. But I'm just getting a little bit sick of it. I think it's time that we understand and know the reality of what's going on and have some better tools and better options for what we can do about it, what we can do for ourselves and what we can do for our children or our loved ones, because there are better options out there and we just don't know what they are a lot of the time. So I'm hoping that this provides a little bit of insight into that. I hope you learned something that you didn't already know. Again, as always, if you have questions for me, put them in the chat or reach out to me directly. I'm happy to support you. If you're watching this as a recording, reach out to me on social media or at my office, hello@highaltitudechiro.com. I'm always willing to connect with you. That is what I have for today. If you have any insight to share or any questions, you know I'm always here. I hope this gave you some information, some tools, some hope. That is why I'm here. That is why I want to do this. That is why I feel so strongly and why I get a little spicy sometimes, because we got to start changing some things for ourselves, for our kids, for our future. So that's what I'm here for. And I hope it helped. If you need anything, please reach out to me. I will be here next Tuesday at 5:30 Mountain Time. I believe we're covering carpal tunnel. That's a big one. And or wrist pain and dysfunction from texting on our phones or typing on our computers, whatever it is that we're doing. Maybe it's because we're lifting heavy. That would be cool. I am here to talk through what that looks like and what we can do about it. So that's what I have for you. Thanks for tuning in today. If there's anything I can do to support you or anyone you care about, I'm here for it. I hope you guys have a great evening and a great rest of your week, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.